For an island nation like the United Kingdom, control and security of the seas is a strategic necessity. The modern Royal Navy is an expeditionary blue water force designed to ensure the security of trade routes and the sea lines of communication, and provide a continuous nuclear deterrent. When we look at the commissioned surface and submarine fleets of the Royal Navy today, we are looking at a combined total displacement of approximately 402,000 tons. This figure represents a very substantial force that is currently undergoing its most significant period of modernization since the end of the Cold War. While the relative ranking of the Royal Navy compared to other navies has declined since the Second World War, it remains one of the world's most influential naval forces. To understand the posture and capabilities of Britain's maritime forces, we must examine the major warship classes that form its tip of the spear, its logistical backbone, and its ultimate nuclear deterrence. At the very center of the modern Royal Navy's conventional power projection capabilities are the Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers. There are two ships in this class, HMS Queen Elizabeth and HMS Prince of Wales. Displacing 80,000 tons each at full load, they are the largest and most advanced surface warships ever constructed for the Royal Navy. Unlike American supercarriers that use nuclear propulsion and catapults to launch aircraft, the British carriers use an integrated full electric propulsion system driven by gas turbines and advanced diesel generators. They feature a distinctive ski jump ramp on the bow. This design is specifically tailored to operate the F-35B Lightning II, a fifth-generation stealth fighter capable of short takeoff and vertical landings. The carriers feature a unique twin-island superstructure. The forward island controls the navigation of the ship, while the aft island acts as the flying control tower, managing air operations. Alongside the fast jets, these carriers operate a tailored air group of helicopters, notably the Merlin HM2. Some of these Merlins are equipped with the Crow's Nest airborne surveillance and control system, providing a vital over-the-horizon radar net across the carrier strike group to detect incoming aerial and surface threats. The reliance on these helicopters for over-the-horizon radar coverage stems directly from the fundamental decision not to equip the Queen Elizabeth class with catapults. Originally, the defense planners debated fitting the carriers for catapult-assisted takeoff but arrested recovery, or CATOBAR, operations. However, projected cost and technical delays forced a reversion to a short takeoff and vertical landing, or STOVL design, utilizing the prominent ski jump. While the STOVL configuration is less expensive to build and operate, it carries certain technical disadvantages compared to CATOBAR. The ski jump restricts the maximum takeoff weight of the aircraft, meaning the fighters must often compromise between carrying a heavy weapons payload and maximizing their fuel range. Furthermore, the lack of catapults prevents the deployment of longer-ranging, fixed-wing airborne early warning aircraft, necessitating the use of the Crow's Nest helicopters. Beyond these inherent design trade-offs, the carrier class has also faced notable operational difficulties since commissioning, most publicly when the HMS Prince of Wales experienced issues with a starboard propeller shaft coupling failure shortly after departing port in August 2022. These engineering setbacks have limited the availability of Britain's flagship carriers. The point is that the Queen Elizabeth class has their own limitations and operational problems, and this is by no means unusual among complex platforms like aircraft carriers. but fundamentally, the Queen Elizabeth remained the key instrument of power projection for the Royal Navy. To protect these high-value carriers from airborne attacks, the Royal Navy relies on the Type 45 Daring-class destroyers. There are 6 of these formidable air defense destroyers in the fleet, displacing around 8,500 tons. The primary role of the Type 45 is to create a defensive bubble around a maritime task group. They achieve this using the Sea Viper air defense system. The eyes of the system are 2 highly advanced radars. The Samson multifunction active electronically scanned array radar sits high on the main mast, spinning rapidly to track hundreds of targets simultaneously, from fighter jets to sea-skimming supersonic missiles. The Samson radar is mounted higher than the primary radar on the US Navy's Arleigh Burkes, meaning the Type 45 has a slightly longer radar horizon and can see slightly further as a result, which benefits reaction times during missile defense. The Samson radar is complemented by the S-1850M long-range volume search radar on the aft mast. When a threat is detected and engaged, the ship fires Astute-15 or Astute-30 interceptor missiles from a vertical launching system on the foredeck. These missiles are very agile and optimized for short and medium-range engagements. The Astute-15 is the shorter-range weapon for engaging targets out to roughly 30 kilometers, while the Astute-30 is the longer-range missile with an effective range of around 120 kilometers. That being said, the Type 45 has a significantly shorter engagement range against aerial targets than the US Navy's workhorse Arleigh Burke destroyers, owing to the latter's Standard Missile 6 extended range active missile. The Type 45 is more primed against high agility, high speed targets like incoming missiles, where the speed of the interceptor matters much more than the range. While the Type 45 class experienced well-documented early issues with its propulsion systems in warm waters, the ongoing power improvements project is replacing diesel generators to ensure these critical ships have the reliable power they need to fight and win. While destroyers shield the fleet from aerial threat, frigates are the versatile workhorses of the Navy and play an especially important role in anti-submarine warfare. For decades, the backbone of this frigate force has been the Type 23 Duke class, originally designed in the final years of the Cold War to hunt Soviet submarines in the freezing waters of the North Atlantic. These 4,900-ton ships have proved remarkably adaptable. They were built to be as quiet as possible, to reduce their visibility to enemy submarines, and to maximize the effectiveness of their own sonar systems. Most notably, the Sonar 2087 towed array. This low-frequency active and passive sonar is deployed on a long cable behind the ship, allowing it to detect submarines at immense ranges. A large aviation hangar and helipad, at least by the standard of a frigate, accommodates a medium anti-submarine helicopter with its own dipping sonar, sonobuoys, and torpedoes. A set of towed torpedo decoys enhances the frigate's survivability against submarine torpedoes, completing its anti-submarine warfare suite. Over the years, the Type 23s have received significant upgrades. Their original Seawolf anti-air missiles have been replaced by the modern Sea Scepter system, which provides excellent local area defense against incoming missiles and aircraft. However, the Type 23 class is aging. Their hulls are tired after decades of hard global deployment, and they are steadily being retired to make way for the next generation of surface combatants. The direct replacement for the dedicated anti-submarine Type 23s is the upcoming Type 26 City-class frigate, also known as the Global Combat Ship. The Type 26 will be a heavy frigate displacing around 8,000 tons, basically the size of a destroyer. 8 are planned for the Royal Navy. The first 2 ships have already been launched and are fitting out. Their primary mission will be protecting the ballistic missile nuclear deterrent submarines and the carrier strike groups from the most capable hostile submarines. To do this, they will feature an acoustically quiet hull and the latest generation of sonar technology, carrying forward the proven Sonar 2087 system. Unlike their predecessors, the Type 26 will also possess a potent land attack capability. They will be fitted with the American-designed Mark 41 vertical launching system, allowing them to carry heavy strike weapons like the future cruise and anti-ship weapon. This represents a leap in firepower from the Type 23, transforming the ship from a purely defensive escort into a more balanced platform. However, building 8,000-ton high-end anti-submarine frigates is incredibly expensive. The Royal Navy needs mass and numbers to maintain a global presence, which requires a more affordable solution. This is where the upcoming Type 31 Inspiration-class frigate enters the picture. 5 of these general-purpose frigates are being built. They represent the lower end of what defense planners call a high-low mix in the surface fleet. The high-low mix is a procurement strategy that pairs a small number of expensive, highly capable assets with a larger number of cheaper, adequately capable assets. The Type 26 is the high end, designed for the most complex, high-threat combat environment. The Type 31 is the low end, based on the proven design of the Royal Danish Navy's Iver Huitfeldt class. The Type 31 will displace around 5,700 tons. They will not have the expensive, ultra-quiet hulls or heavy towed array sonars of the Type 26. Instead, they will rely on a hull-mounted sonar, a Bofors 57mm main gun, and the Sea Scepter missile system for self-defense, as opposed to an anti-submarine warfare frigate like the Type 26. The Type 31 is a more flexible, general-purpose warship. By taking on routine maritime security tasks, anti-piracy patrols, and forward-deployed presence missions across the globe, the Type 31s will free up the high-end Type 26 frigates to focus strictly on carrier escort. Together, they provide both the quality needed for high-intensity conflict and the quantity needed for global presence. Moving below the surface, the Royal Navy operates an all-nuclear submarine fleet, divided into attack submarines and ballistic missile submarines. The hunter-killers of the fleet are the Astute-class nuclear attack submarines, displacing 7,800 tons when submerged and measuring 97 meters in length. A total of 7 boats are planned for this class. The procurement of the Astute class was deeply problematic, evolving from a supposed low-cost upgrade of the older Trafalgar class into a heavily delayed 70% new design that suffered severe cost overruns due to a loss of sovereign submarine building expertise following the Cold War. Despite these industrial hurdles, the resulting vessels are widely regarded as some of the most capable in the world. The highly automated Astute class operates with a reduced crew of 98 sailors. They are powered by a Rolls-Royce pressurized water reactor, too, utilizing highly enriched uranium. The reactor never needs refueling during the submarine's entire 25-year service life. The Astute class is characterized by extreme stealth, covered in over 39,000 anechoic acoustic tiles with advanced adhesives that absorb enemy active sonar pins and dampen internal machinery noise. Below the waves, the primary sensor is the Thales Sonar 2076, a highly integrated suite of flank, bow, and towed array sonars. Above the surface, they utilize modern, optronic periscopes that use electro-optical sensors to rapidly record a 360-degree high-definition view, drastically reducing the time the submarine is exposed to visual or radar detection. In terms of armament, the Astute relies on 6 forward torpedo tubes, capable of launching a mixed payload of 38 weapons. This includes the Spearfish heavyweight torpedo for destroying enemy submarines and surface ships. For strategic power projection, they carry the Block 4 Tomahawk land attack cruise missiles launched through torpedo tubes, allowing the submarine to strike deeply into enemy territory. Additionally, they can be fitted with a dry deck shelter to covertly deploy special forces ashore. Perhaps one limitation of the Astute is the lack of a vertical launch system, which means it doesn't have the option to launch a large salvo of anti-ship missiles all at once at a target. In anti-ship warfare, this means the Astute is fundamentally a short-range torpedo-based attacker, which isn't a problem by itself, but it does limit the Astute's options at a tactical level. While the Astute class hunts ships and attack land targets, the Vanguard class nuclear ballistic missile submarines exist for a singular, sobering purpose: to provide Britain's nuclear deterrent. There are 4 of these 15,900-ton Leviathans in service. Designed during the final years of the Cold War, their defining physical characteristic is a prominent dorsal hump built specifically to accommodate the immense length of their most important weapon system, the Trident D5 submarine-launched ballistic missile, armed with nuclear warheads. This American-designed 3-stage solid-fuel rocket is capable of reaching hypersonic speeds and boasts a maximum operational range of roughly 12,000 kilometers, allowing the submarines to hold targets at risk from the vast safety of the deep ocean. Each missile uses an advanced inertial guidance system to achieve accuracy and delivers a number of independently targetable re-entry vehicles. Each submarine can carry up to 16 of these missiles, though standard loadouts are generally lower. The Vanguard class relies entirely on remaining undetected. They do not hunt, they hide. The operational cycle of these submarines is grueling, with crews undertaking multi-month patrols cut off from the outside world, ensuring that no matter what happens to the British mainland, a catastrophic retaliatory strike can be launched. However, these vessels are now operating well beyond their original 25-year design lifespans, creating significant limitations. Their aging pressure hulls and older reactor systems require increasingly lengthy, complex, and expensive deep maintenance periods to ensure safety. This mounting maintenance burden places an immense strain on the remaining operational boats and their crews to sustain the unbroken deterrence posture. The age of the Vanguard also means it does not have the latest and greatest in acoustic quietening technologies, and may not be as quiet as the new submarines of the world's leading naval powers. To gradually replace the Vanguard class, the Royal Navy is currently building the Dreadnought class nuclear ballistic missile submarines. 4 of these massive vessels are planned, and at over 17,000 tons, they will be the largest submarines ever built for the Royal Navy. The Dreadnought class will feature an X-tail rudder for better maneuverability and advanced ship control systems known as the Active Vehicle Control Management, which has been compared to the fly-by-wire control on modern aircraft. Crucially, they will share a common missile compartment with the United States Navy's Columbia-class ballistic missile submarines, ensuring shared development cost and common maintenance procedures for the Trident's ballistic missile infrastructure. As a new design, the Dreadnought should be much quieter than the Vanguard class it replaces, which is very important for a strategic deterrent submarine. The introduction of the Dreadnought class in the 2030s should ensure the UK maintains a credible nuclear umbrella well into the late 21st century. Naval mines remain one of the most effective ways for an adversary to deny access to key waterways. To counter this, the Royal Navy operates the Hunt-class mine countermeasure vessels. Displacing just 750 tons, these unique ships are built entirely from glass-reinforced plastic. This non-magnetic hull design is crucial, because many naval mines are triggered by the magnetic signature of a passing steel ship. The Hunt class uses the sonar 2193 to detect and classify mines on the seabed. Once a mine is found, the ship deploys the Sea Fox, a small, remotely operated vehicle. Connected to the mothership by a long fiber optic cable, this system allows operators to visually identify the threat from a safe distance using an onboard live video camera and close-range sonar. The Sea Fox acts as an expendable disposal system. It is carefully piloted directly to the target before detonating a built-in charge warhead, destroying both the vehicle and the mine in a single blast. The standoff approach significantly reduces the danger to the host ship and its crew. However, the nature of mine warfare is changing rapidly. The Royal Navy is gradually phasing out these crewed ships in favor of autonomous vessels and uncrewed underwater vehicles that can hunt mines without putting sailors at risk in a live minefield. Uncrewed vessels are especially important in situations where the minesweepers themselves are likely to be attacked by the opposing forces. For law enforcement duties, border control, and safeguarding UK interest abroad, the Royal Navy relies on the River-class offshore patrol vessels. These ships come in two variants, known as Batch 1 and Batch 2. Displacing around 2,000 tons, the newer Batch 2 vessels are simple, rugged, and reliable diesel-powered ships. They are lightly armed, typically carrying a 30mm cannon and heavy machine guns, as they are not designed for fleet combat. Instead, their value lies in their presence. River-class vessels are permanently forward-deployed to regions like the Caribbean, the South Atlantic, the Indian Ocean, and the Pacific. They conduct exclusive economic zone patrols, intercept smugglers, provide disaster relief, and build diplomacy. By handling these low-intensity missions, they free up larger and more capable warships of the Royal Navy to do other things. None of these complex warships could operate globally without fuel, food, and ammunition. A blue water navy cannot remain tethered to its home port. This vital logistical support is provided by the Royal Fleet Auxiliary. The Royal Fleet Auxiliary is a bespoke civilian-manned fleet owned by the Ministry of Defense. Its ships fly the blue ensign rather than the white ensign of the Royal Navy. The crews are civilian merchant seafarers, but they operate fully integrated with military command structures, deploying directly into conflict zones alongside the warships they support. The Royal Fleet Auxiliary is the enabler of global maritime power. Without it, the carrier strike groups simply could not function for any meaningful amount of time far from home. A prime example of the capability the Royal Fleet Auxiliary brings to the fleet is the Tide-class Fast Fleet tanker. There are 4 of these modern replenishment ships, each displacing a massive 39,000 tons. The Tide class was specifically designed to support the Queen Elizabeth-class aircraft carriers. They are double-hulled to prevent environmental disasters in the event of damage and are heavily automated. Their primary mission is replenishment at sea. This is a complex and highly dangerous maneuver where the tanker and a warship sail side by side at speed, often in rough weather, passing heavy fuel hoses and tensioned cables between the ships. A Tide-class tanker can pump thousands of liters of aviation fuel for the carrier's F-35 jet and marine diesels for the escorting destroyers simultaneously. Fresh water can also be supplied through separate hoses. The Tide class is mainly focused on the supply of liquids, but there is space for dry goods like food and spare parts to be stored in containers and transferred to warships using pallets. While they are logistics ships, they are equipped to operate in contested environments, carrying defensive systems like the Phalanx close-in weapon system to protect themselves from small boat attacks or incoming missiles. Finally, any real overview of the Royal Navy's commissioned fleet must acknowledge its most historic asset, the ship of the line, HMS Victory. Launched in 1765 and displacing 3,500 tons, she is a first-rate, 3-mast wooden sailing ship armed with 104 muzzle-loading cannons. She is most famous for serving as Lord Nelson's flagship at the Battle of Trafalgar in 1805, where the Royal Navy decisively defeated the combined fleet of France and Spain. Today, she rests in a dry dock in Portsmouth. What makes HMS Victory unique is that she remains a fully commissioned warship in the Royal Navy and serves as the flagship of the First Sea Lord. As the oldest naval vessel in the world still in commission, she holds no combat value, of course, but her ceremonial and cultural importance is there. She serves as a physical grounding in history for the modern Royal Navy, a constant reminder of the storied history that define the service. The Royal Navy today is a force in transition, pivoting away from the counterinsurgency land wars of the early 21st century and returning to its roots as a premier blue water maritime force. The fleet offers a full spectrum of military options afforded by its wide range of platforms, from the Vanguard class and the Astute class submarines to the aircraft carriers of the Queen Elizabeth class. We also need to bear in mind the refinement of the high-low mix with the future Type 26 and Type 31 frigate, and the indispensable supply lines provided by the Royal Fleet Auxiliary. Despite the many challenges on the horizon, the Royal Navy is not in a bad place. It still has the means to project significant influence across the oceans and mount a meaningful naval challenge where the UK's national interests are at stake.